Good morning.
Yes. Yes.
Scrimshaw says hello to all our good friends there. But we got, let's see, we got Sergeant Major with First Blood this morning. And what a morning it is. I have taken the day off. And I've taken the day off largely because, damn it, I'm tired. And my foot hurts because the stick got run through it the other day. I've been walking. I stepped on that flipping stick, and then it seemed like every contract I had after I stepped on that stick that went about a quarter to a half inch into my foot, just put a big hole between my toes. And then I keep getting these contracts. Home walkthrough video.
Dude, look, I know sympathy is the appropriate response.
It's not. You should laugh at my weakness.
Well, actually, what I was going to laugh at is, dude, wear work shoes to work.
No, dude, that was not. It punched through. Yes, I was wearing Crocs that day, but it punched through the rubber soles. And guess what? Would have punched through the rubber sole of a shoe too.
Boots?
Well, I mean, anyway, what? Yeah, sure.
I'm saying there's a. See, this is why I knew.
Yeah, steel riveted boots. Sure.
This is why I'm saying I know there's that sympathy is the appropriate response, but I know it's awful, but I can't help but get chuckly. Be like, oh, did your Crocs not work for you on your professional shoot? And I know that's a dick move. I know it is.
I go about 50-50 Crocs and shoes. But it was warm. I didn't want to wear socks that day.
No, I hear you, but I just want to know, like, what was it? Like a stick from an ironwood tree, like, or was it just one of those?
It was a stick about that long.
Or was it just one of those sharp, like, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction, and I just happened to literally trip over the skateboard and break my ankle.
Yeah, just hit it exactly the wrong angle.
Wrong angle for you, wrong angle for the stick, I bet.
But I'm taking the day off for a few other reasons, not least of which is the Sergeant Major just came home with some 40 or 50 pounds of moose. Just buckets of moose.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I wish I had the day off. I'd hang around until dinner, and I'm still gonna figure out a way to swing by around dinner time because I tell you, the last time I had moose from your dad is when he made the moose fajitas. I keep trying to think of like like mojitas,
right?
But then it sounds
moose
like
knuckle fajitas. No, that's not the one.
Did we invite Lizzo over?
Oh, my wife says cooler of, not buckets of.
Anyhow, let's say good morning to some people and then do some Woke Wednesday. How
okay, well, we already hit Sergeant Major with First Blood there, and then extremely large clump of cells. Morning, fellow external zeitgeist. I'll give you a top comment for that one. I see crack shot.
Excuse me.
Striker. I've got one, Danny.
There was a Pancho Ramirez.
I saw Pancho said Buenos Dias. Buenos Dias, amiguito. Scrimshaw, good morning. I think I already said good morning to Scrimshaw. Dan again on his other. And there's Ben with Georgia Constitution Media.
Megan Anderson, Will Banks, good morning.
Good morning, sunshine. Did we catch everybody?
There's a Willow Bar.
Well,
and then there's another.
I mentioned her. Good morning, dear. And I see a Steve. And there's another Danny. We are plus on Danny's this morning. Hell's yes.
Yes.
So
both Dannys like to run their mouth. Only one Danny looks good in spandex.
And I may trip over offending a few of you today. Maybe. Because we are going to be talking a bit about the abortion issue. There's some development there. And so this We're about to watch Biden speaking from an address last week, and we'll pause it periodically for comment because, dear God, it's what it is. Here we go.
One's right to choose, and it would extend to the right to privacy itself and things like contraception. And so it was no surprise that.
Okay, so he just mentioned contraception. With the exception of very strict Orthodox Catholics who are not a political entity for the purposes of this conversation, nobody is going after contraception. Nobody is saying you can't use a condom or take birth control. Now, there are some good arguments that birth control, outside of devices like a condom or a diaphragm, there are some good arguments that birth control pills, the chemicals, are just bad for women, that they have serious negative health consequences. But the fact of the matter is, nobody's trying to legislate those away. That argument doesn't exist. They keep trying to make fetch a thing. Like when was it Dan Rather that tried to ambush Romney with the, well, why are you trying to ban all the contraceptives?
I think that was Stephanopoulos that asked him questions about abortion and contraceptives and
No, he didn't even ask him about abortion at the time. Remember, that was one of the things that was so weird about it, is he didn't even ask anything about abortion. He said, he asked him why he wanted to get rid of contraceptives. And Romney just, like,
no,
I'm not a big fan of Romney. He just looks at him, he's like, I don't think anybody's talking about that anywhere.
I'm pretty sure that it was Stephanopoulos and...
Well, no, I'm not arguing that. I don't doubt that at all. But I don't think he asked him. One of the things that was weird about it is that he asked him about why he wanted to get rid of contraceptives, but they didn't discuss abortion in that conversation. Abortion was, admittedly at the time, because we're talking about when Romney was running for office, abortion was an issue that was being discussed, but nobody had a real expectation that if Romney won, that we would actually see a Supreme Court overturn the criminal travesty that was Roe v. Wade. But they were trying to make contraception an issue as part of the push to shove through Obamacare. And at the time, it was weird because nobody was talking about contraception. And I think you're right. I think it was Stephanopoulos. But he just like ambushes Romney with this question. Well, why do you want to get rid of contraceptives? And Romney was understandably completely perplexed. Like, what? That's not a campaign issue. Nobody's arguing either side for that question. It was weird. And pay attention here, because Biden is about to do the same thing.
We're seeing extremist laws pop up around the country that are having a ripple effect far beyond the health rights of a pregnant woman. We have doctors here with us today who are on the front lines of this crisis, and many of these laws would make doctors criminals just for treating a patient. In Arizona...
Just false. For treating a patient? You mean for performing an illegal procedure? Like, oh, okay, hey, do you know that... like up until about a century ago, there were certain things they treated with like mercury
and bleeding.
Well, no, I don't know that they were still bleeding a century ago. I'm just saying relatively recently, like, they would use toxic metals to burn funny looking spots off your skin. That's, I dare say that's probably illegal now. And a doctor would be a criminal for,
an extremely large clump of cells says Kevorkian just treated patients. That's all he was doing. He was treating patients. In fact, if Kevorkian were active today in Canada, he'd be fine. Or Washington State, apparently.
Yeah, it's just the way the left just frames their language and the way they They lie by sort of telling the truth, but
Right.
anyhow.
But this idea that that an abortion doctor is just treating a patient. You have two patients there, doctor.
Yeah, that's
and
like
you're
medical
killing
school
one of them.
101. If you have a pregnant patient, you have two patients.
And like the only rule of medicine higher than, kind of higher than that idea that if you have a pregnant patient, you have two patients, is the first do no harm.
That doesn't mean they don't hurt you. It means they don't harm you.
And that's an important distinction too.
They had a law which is mentioned by the vice president on the books in 1864. That's 1864. During
Back
the
when I
Civil
was
War.
17.
And went into effect again a week and a half ago. And just 2 days after it went into effect, a young 14-year-old girl who's been suffering from rheumatoid arthritis and osteoporosis initially couldn't get a refill for her prescription, the drug she'd been taking for years to deal with her two diseases.
What drug?
Because concerns that that very prescription could be used to terminate a pregnancy in violation of the law in that state.
I call bullshit. I haven't looked up the story that he's talking about. But I can just about guarantee you that that is a dramatic oversimplification. So much so that it's a lie. I bet if we find that story and look closely at it, what we will see is that the cat has 4 legs and hair and is therefore a dog, right?
Well, I bet it'll be like like the 10-year-old girl that had to leave the state to get an abortion so she didn't die. And then
you mean the one that didn't happen?
Well, okay, if I remember correctly, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't happen. It probably happened, maybe it didn't happen. Okay, it probably happened, but there's a bunch of weird, like, family drama, and maybe she's got an uncle who's an illegal that raped her, so we're just going to make the whole story go away, and...
Well, okay, so the way that one went is, it did happen. The governor was very clear that in no way would the law have prevented her from having an abortion.
Oh, yeah, I know, I'm just saying...
And... The uncle, the illegal alien who raped her, was reported by the police as a minor, even though he was in his 20s.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, even if there is some 14-year-old girl who's taking some kind of abortifacient drug because it's got a knock-on effect for treating her osteoporosis, or she's taking an osteoporosis drug that could have a knock-on effect of causing you to spontaneously abort a fetus, there's almost guaranteed to be more to that story. It's how they do. They do this all the time with the abortion argument. Of course, they come back and they go, oh, well, what about rape and incest and life and health of the mother? And according to Planned Parenthood's own statistics, we're only talking about 6% of abortions in this country, right? So the other 94% of abortions, this argument doesn't even apply, right?
Right.
So anyhow.
So.
And that's exactly what we're afraid would happen. This 14-year-old girl.
No, it's not. You were only ever afraid, as you've been very clear, you were only ever afraid that you would run out of places where you could have babies terminated.
Couldn't get the medicine she needed for arthritis because of the extreme, backward, and misguided law. Now, officials
what was
at
the law?
University of
What was the medication? Okay, what's her underlying medical condition? Oh, well, I can't tell you that because of HIPAA. And why the fuck are you talking about her on live national television? And speaking of 14-year-old girls that need medication, are we talking about Ashley Biden, who stopped showering until after she knew Joe had gone to bed because she was so worried he might show up? The diary that's not her diary, but for some reason the FBI totally wanted it back anyway. 14-year-old girls. Hey, but, I was 30 and she was 12.
Yeah. Yeah, we covered that one yesterday. That's
Yeah, anyhow, we're never gonna get through this whole clip.
Wait. Because here, I've got it. The reason, okay, for years, Deborah Power, a rheumatologist in Tucson, had prescribed methotrexate to manage her 14-year-old patient's rheumatoid arthritis.
Keyword, meth.
Yeah. But just 2 days after the state's abortion ban took effect last month, a pharmacy denied the teen's refill. The reason? In a higher dosage, the drug used to treat some cancers, arthritis, and a slew of autoimmune diseases can also induce abortions and terminate ectopic pregnancies.
Man, that's another one of those lies
that's not
I
its most
hate.
common use.
Well, what about ectopic pregnancies? Nobody that knows anything about biology wants you to die from an ectopic pregnancy. Anyhow, it's a totally separate thing, and we're never gonna get through all of it. Even though this is true, I guess we can't go down to the rabbit hole too far. But there's clearly more here.
Well, part of the argument they're making is that we're going to see alcohol banned. We're going to see a new we're going to see a new prohibition, because if you use alcohol in higher doses, it can result in the termination of a pregnancy. Right? It's the same argument. It's ludicrous.
Idaho said it should stop providing contraception, as was mentioned by the vice president. In fact, they told the university staff that they providing contraception. Idaho said it should stop providing contraception, as was mentioned by the vice president. In fact, they told the university staff that they could get in trouble just for talking or telling students about where they get birth control. Folks.
See, and he's being careful not to really talk about abortion much. He's making the claim that somehow the overturn of Roe v. Wade is tantamount to an abolition on contraceptives, a prohibition on contraceptives, and nobody is saying that.
Folks, what century?
More importantly, okay, so he just gave you an example of somebody making the claim that that's what's happening, that a college, that a liberal university is making the claim that the law threatens consequences if they even mention contraceptives to students. What's happening there is the university is telling a lie. And it's not surprising to see this university lying, because what we're talking about is a university that is politically interested in abortion. And so they're telling lies to hyperbolize the effects of laws which prevent murder. And that language isn't entirely correct. Laws which criminalize murder. Let's be real. Laws do not prevent anything. They make a thing illegal. They attach consequences to actions. But a law itself can't actually prevent an action.
Are we in? I mean, what are we doing? I respect everyone's view on this, personal decisions they make, but
look, we gotta get through this, or we're never gonna get to your murder.
We're talking about contraception here. It shouldn't be that controversial, but this is what it looks like when you start to take away the right of privacy. I've asked Education Secretary Cardona to look at the steps that we could take to protect college students and school employees in Idaho or other states where their access to contraception is at risk. And my message to any other college considering enacting policies like this:
like Amazon doesn't work.
Please don't.
Right. And it really is that simple. There is nowhere in the country right now where your access to contraception is at risk.
Yeah. Look, go on Amazon right now and type and search for Trojans in bulk. I promise you will have contraception delivered to your door in 24 hours.
You know what? I'm going to pull it. I bet you I bet you could even order it as a
Look at that. You typed in TROJ.
TR. I didn't even get to OJ. And there we are. And there we are. Okay. $14 for a 36 count and more buying choices. You know what happens under more buying choices, right? That's where you get your used and refurbished stuff. Here's the piece that I'm looking for. Here's what I'm wondering about. There's a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
Yes. You can subscribe. You can subscribe and have them delivered on a subscription basis. Looks like the most common is 5 months, every 2 weeks, 36 every 2 weeks. Whew. Good on you, son. Do what you do.
I want to buy a TV.
And okay, so in fairness, that speech from Biden was from last week. Here's why I wanted to bring up that speech and talk about what's happening now.
Yeah, here comes the woke part.
This, like we talked about it a little bit yesterday, the Democrats are running on abortion. Their entire platform right now, is queer the kid, trans the kid, kill the kid.
Well,
Their entire platform is about eliminating children. And yes, I do mean eliminating children.
Well, this particular election cycle, you are 100% correct. It's all about abortion. They even managed to make the Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker race about abortion.
Yep.
Amazingly enough, which we will get back to, but not today.
Walker's going to win now because Democrats can vote for his abortions.
Stop.
So here's abortion
Woke
on
Wednesday.
demand and on the move. Planned Parenthood to launch its first mobile abortion clinics. That's right. This image, right? In the 9 months before Roe v. Wade was overturned, the Planned Parenthood clinic in Fairview Heights, Illinois, had been busier than usual, picking up an influx of Texas patients who traveled north after the state's 6-week abortion ban. But when Roe fell in June, the steady stream of out-of-state patients turned into a surge as abortion was banned or severely restricted in states encircling Illinois. The number of patients dying in a Planned Parenthood's Fairview Heights clinic in southern Illinois has increased 340% since the Supreme Court decision, according to the provider. Prompted by the number of patients who must travel out of state for abortions, Planned Parenthood, it says abortion care.
I know. It's more of that language. I know.
Planned Parenthood on Monday announced it was launching its first mobile abortion clinic, which will cover Illinois' southern border.
So, like, just like the first question I had, okay? If supposedly getting abortions in, I don't know, pick a state that touches Illinois, Kentucky. If supposedly getting abortions in Kentucky are illegal, and so people are going from Kentucky to Illinois to get abortions.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently.
All right. So if you make an abortion bus and drive it to Kentucky, aren't abortions still illegal in Kentucky?
Well, what they're saying is that they're basically going to stay right as close to the southern.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
They're basically going to pitch a tent on the county line the way we used to buy fireworks before they made.
They're like fireworks and titty bars.
Well, titty bars have been legal in Georgia for a while. It's fireworks that are recent.
And yeah, Willow Bar points out, but they couldn't get a pap smear bus to ensure overall health. Can't even get a well check bus to rural areas. No, of course not, babe. They're not interested in your health. They're interested in the sacrifices you could make to Moloch. It's part of their election campaign. It's part of their voter strategy. Blood sacrifices to Moloch.
It's so... Look, even atheists have an orthodoxy, and what do I mean by that? I'm not going to go too far down it, but suffice it to say, human beings have got a spiritual need to have something that is spiritual. And for a certain segment of the left, like we make the jokes and the comparison to, you know, Moloch and the Asherah bowls and everything, because they do have a certain amount of religious fervor. There is a segment of the population that loses their mind over the abortion issue. And I don't mean guys like us. I mean, there are women that like feel absolutely justified in screaming and if you dare say anything negative about my abortion, you're the problem, not me. Like there's that thing that Dr. Randomer Cam reacted to with Busy Phillips where she basically talked about how she was grateful for her abortion and her husband was grateful for her abortion because she would not have had the career she had without her abortion, and her children that she didn't abort were grateful for her. I mean, it was just absolutely terribly cringy. Okay. So there's a spiritual fervor to it. And I guarantee you this whole thing with the abortion bus is probably not looked at dissimilarly to people sneaking Bibles into China, for example. Like they believe they're doing the good work of the Lord. Excuse me, that's patriarchal. They're doing the good work of the karmic balance of the universe, or however they want to talk about it. It's why there are certain people that you just can't have this discussion with, like, because they haven't used their mind to make up their mind. No, they're so deep in their fifis.
Yeah.
And so what are we gonna do? We're gonna have an abortion bus. Oh God, what the hell, man! I give like a 45-second monologue, and you bring up the Satanic Temple, like Jesus. Well, no, I don't think Jesus had anything
Not
to
like
do with
Jesus.
this.
This is very explicitly unlike
anti-Jesus.
Jesus. How the Satanic Temple is using abortion rituals to claim religious liberty against the Texas heartbeat bill. You know, oh, how much fun would it be if the Satanic Temple was to win on this, therefore codifying precedents for the First Amendment protection of human sacrifice.
Yeah, but look, the Satanic Church is not an entity to take seriously. It's not even about worshiping Satan directly per se. It is about deliberately running contrary and being offensive and being individualistic. There is that old tired argument about how there's the intersection between Satanism and libertarianism, for example. So, you know, while this is funny and it backs up your point, like I don't take anything the Satanic Church does seriously. Like, okay, sure, we're gonna have abortion rituals and force the right wing to protect it as free speech and religious liberty. Like, oh, guys, come on.
Here's why you should take the Satanic Church seriously, the Satanic Temple seriously. It claims it is a, well, here it says it right here. The Satanic Temple, a non-theistic group which has been recognized by the IRS as a religion.
But that's why I don't take them seriously. That sentence.
This is a political organization which has a lot of money to play with. So when the Satanic Temple takes a political position, it means that a large amount of money and therewith power is being funneled into more effective organizations. That's a piece of the math that cannot be ignored. Now, I agree with you that if the Satanic Church takes a position, you should not take that position seriously. But what you should take seriously is the kind of telegraphing of the punch that's coming with the fact that this particular political money mover is involved in the conversation. But generally, when you look at the Satanic Temple, what you're looking at is a Democrat political activization.
Okay. Yes, probably pretty highly likely. But man, as I understand it, like the Satanic Church has got recruitment that's about as effective as the KKK.
Yes, their numbers have dwindled substantially. The difference being the KKK, their small membership is not a small and very wealthy membership.
Okay, still, but we're talking about like sub 1%, like sub 1/10 of 1% of any population sample. Like you just, I mean, yes, there's money behind it, and yes, one person with a lot of money can make a big difference. But I'm sorry, it's like the Satanic Church. Well, sure thing, pal. Sure thing.
Well, I'm glad you brought them up in comparison to the KKK, because this is not a rabbit hole I had intended, and I'll try to keep it quick. But I want you to think about this. When the Satanic Church makes a move like this, makes a statement like this, it grabs major headlines. It grabs headlines all over the place. When's the last time you saw a headline where a member of the KKK or a representative of the KKK made a public statement on a matter of public interest? At all. Right? We're being told constantly that white supremacy is the greatest threat to democracy. We're being told
the next
that constantly.
great evil and all that. Yeah.
And you see these memes all the time with there was one I saw the other day where it said something like, there's one silent K in night, there's two silent K's in something,
knick-knack, and then three silent K's in Republican.
Right? Except I dare you, go point to an actual Klan member. I dare you. Find me a headline where a Klan member makes a political statement, makes an overt statement, right?
I mean, I'm sure you can find some, but we're talking, again, the minority of the minority of the minority.
So the common press takes these statements from the Satanic Church seriously, even though these people are not, as you say, in the public view, theoretically. But we've got a boogeyman made of this theory of white supremacism, and it just doesn't exist.
So, before we go, just like super briefly,
you want to touch on that other one?
Can we please touch on that other one?
Okay, and and we don't have to be too super brief. We've got time to play with this morning.
Well, I mean,
this is also not a story that requires a great deal of commentary. Just kind of, yeah, we see you with your wokeness and your garbage. Okay, this story's coming to us from New York Post's entertainment section.
Oh, but it's been breathlessly reported
everywhere.
This is such an important step, y'all.
Oh my God!
Set your stunning and your brave to maximum.
Get ready to be represented. You want to read that headline for me, Cameron?
Sure. Well, no, but I'm gonna. Scooby-Doo's Velma now definitely a lesbian in new HBO Max movie.
Scooby-Doo has long been famous for its big reveals, with its gang of amateur sleuths dramatically cornering criminals and pulling off their masks at the end of each episode. Okay. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the academic concept of queering. It's obnoxious. It's deeply obnoxious. And a great example is The Matrix. Matrix came out, and it's an obvious telling of the allegory of the cave. Now,
among about 4,000 other things, but
right, you got your basic hero's journey, you got your allegory of the cave, right? The story of The Matrix is not an original one. The presentation of the story was very original and brilliantly executed. But there are reams of academic papers written on how the Matrix is actually about either being gay and coming out of the closet as gay, or being trans and coming out as trans, etc., etc. Right? That is an academic concept known as queering, or a queer read. Right? So, Scooby-Doo. Velma was never gay. Any more
Velma
than
was
any of
never
the other
anything.
characters were straight. Because the fact of the matter is, the story was about a group of kids who solved mysteries. And sex, let alone sexuality, was never part of that story. Now, Velma was this nerdy kid, right? She's this nerdy kid in a tank top, in a turtleneck and glasses. She's supposed to be an intellectual and a nerd, and so it got the queer read. It's like, oh yeah, well, Velma has to be gay because Daphne is totally the opposite of gay. Okay, if you need to fantasize something into your entertainment to artificially validate your life choices, I'm sad for you, but whatever. This is not that. This is revisionism, and this is shoving it into children's faces. Right? This isn't just representation. This is going out of the way. Right? This is well, if you won't bring your children to Drag Queen Story Hour, then we're going to cram genitalia in their faces while you're not looking. That's what this is.
And I only think that that's a slight exaggeration for comedic effect, because, you know, you said Velma wasn't gay. Look, it's important to note that Velma wasn't anything. The characters weren't anything. It wasn't about, there was some implication from time to time that, like, you know, Fred and Daphne were a thing, but even that was pretty light, right? Because the point, the gag was, for some reason, this group of teenagers just magically kept stumbling across supernatural mysteries. Like, that was part of the humor and the charm of the show, is how ridiculous it was, how unbelievable it was to begin with. So if your fantasy is that the most well-adjusted and highly intelligent member of that group is also gay, and that's a fantasy to you, you know what? I'll concede that point to you. You're right. It is an absolute fantasy that lesbians are generally highly intelligent and well-adjusted. That's one of those things. It's like, you're not making the point that you think you're making there, my man.
You're not.
I get what you're going for, and in your desperation, you've actually gone the opposite direction.
You've managed to remind us that lesbian couples have a higher incidence and occurrence of domestic violence than any other demographic.
And you know, the other part of this is, who's this for? Like, who is this for?
Well,
like,
I can tell you who it's not for. My 4 children.
But that's part of the point. Okay, like, okay, is this for adults who are looking for validation? Is this for teenagers that are going through puberty and have some legit confusion about their sexuality? Is this for children that shouldn't be thinking or talking about sex at fucking all?
Correct. Well, like Willow Bar says, you know, I'm allowed to have glasses and be nerdy and be straight. Yes, you are.
There's about 4,000 things in that I am not going to touch with a 10-foot pole.
You are correct.
Yes, I am. I know I am. Wow. Okay.
She might just come down here with coffee and not put it in cups. Stop.
I'm just... Ooh. This could only get more awkward, so I'm just gonna... Instead, I'm just gonna move on to. Honestly, though, this is sort of like that movie Bros. That's like,
oh yeah,
the rom-com, but for gay dudes. And like, why won't straight men come watch our movie? Because
it's not just straight men that don't want to watch your movie. It's
straight women as well.
Exactly. Nobody wants to watch your movie, right? $4.8 million opening weekend, right? $4.8 million sounds like a lot of money, except you're talking about a movie that had a $25 million production budget. Production budget. That's just the production budget. They spent twice that again on the marketing budget. This movie needs to make $100 million just to get into profit, right? And normally, you expect for a film to make most of its investment back
in the first 2 weeks.
Yep. Right? If you haven't broken even in 2 weeks,
you're probably not gonna.
You're gonna lose everything. You're losing. That's it.
Well, the thing is, dudes already aren't real interested in rom-coms. I've only ever seen one that I actually feel like is actually a really good movie and still has stood the test of time. And that's When Harry Met Sally. Okay? I don't care what you say. That's a good movie.
I'll have what she's having.
Yes. Yes.
No, there are a few rom-coms that I've enjoyed.
Well,
it's not what I go to first. Certainly not my first go-to, my first choice.
But the thing is, that's not a dude's first choice as a rom-com. It's just not, okay? And when a woman watches a rom-com and you look at it like, what the female fantasy is, the female fantasy usually involves a female and a male. Two dudes is just not the majority of your population's fantasy.
Nope.
But then, well, something's wrong with you because you don't want to go see this.
That's wrong.
Crack
shot. You're not wrong. Bros, a Caligula love story. Crack shot, you're not wrong. But you ain't right.
But no, I'm trying to compare this to the thing with queering up Velma. Like, you could even just let the implication be out there that maybe Velma's gay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, oftentimes that implication works really, really well in the subtext of a story. But when you're just going to shove it in somebody's face, quite literally, and then when you're like, no, this is not for me, this really isn't terribly dissimilar to, I really don't like hot sauce on my eggs. What the fuck is wrong with you? No, I don't really like hot sauce all that much, and I don't want it on my eggs. Well, if you won't eat these eggs, you hate breakfast. No, I just don't want hot sauce on my eggs. I, by the way, do like hot sauce on my eggs. Let's be clear. I'm just using that as an example. But okay, so fine. We're gonna make Velma gay, and we're just gonna gay. I'm gonna inject queerness into everywhere that I can, and it's just like that Disney exec said, and then they're baffled. Why do we keep losing money?
We don't understand. When Velma swoons over sassy character Chocolate Devil.
No. That's Coco Diablo, sir. And yes, the name of the character.
The name of the character is Coco Diablo.
Yeah, Chocolate Devil.
Really? Really? So, just like
dude, we're so long.
Just like Black Little Mermaid or Lizzo pulling an American Pie on Madison's flute.
I don't know that this is fan baiting. I think that this is more. Hold on. I don't know that this is fan baiting because there's two flavors of this kind of injecting the wokeness into entertainment. one level is fan baiting, but I do think there's another level where you're trying to queerify things and make kids see it. And I think in this case, so woohoo! You know, how many middle class parents have splurged for HBO Max so they can watch House of the Dragon, and then their kids are like, "Oh, mommy, there's a new Scooby-Doo movie." Oh yeah, sure, let's watch that. Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, you know, like and I'll do this and then move on. The most recent, what was it? Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, right? And they introduced a new superhero.
America, whose power was crossing
a Mexican
borders.
chick named America with the magic power to cross borders.
True story. We're not making this up.
I'm not hyperbolizing. That's the character.
I even not in your shits. Okay. Her name was America. She was
clearly Mexican.
No, excuse me. She was Latinx. You bigot.
Yes, she was clearly Mexican, and her magic power that she got from her two mommies was to cross borders.
Right. Exactly. And that apparently is the most important superpower in all of the multiverse.
And I liked the movie. It was a fun flick.
It's okay.
I didn't say it was great, but I had fun. There were a lot of big holes in the plot, blah blah blah. But
that movie's proof that even a great director like Sam Raimi.
It was visually stunning.
Yeah, that movie. Yeah, visually. Yeah, that movie's proof that even a great director like Sam Raimi, if you handcuff him, there's only so much he can do.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, we are 20 minutes over. Merry Christmas, because you got a free extra, almost a whole extra show. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.